Ever felt like you're doing everything right, trying to eat healthy, getting some exercise in, but you just hit that frustrating plateau?
Oh, absolutely.
Or maybe you feel deprived all the time, or just, well, totally overwhelmed by all the health advice out there, and you still don't have the energy you feel like you should.
It's so common. So many people are putting in the effort. They're active. Sometimes they're even managing conditions with meds, but they just can't seem to break through and feel really well.
Exactly. And that's precisely why we're doing this deep dive today. We've got a whole bunch of material here, all focused on one specific program, the faster way to fat loss.
Right. And our sources are really rooted in the insights from Amanda Tress, the creator, and her book.
So our mission today is to unpack all this for you. We're going to explore what this program actually is, according to these sources, the principles behind it,
Ah,
how it claims to work, and what makes it different. Think of it as, well, your shortcut to understanding this particular approach.
and what really jumps out, I think, from the sources is the author's own story. Amanda Tress, she didn't just, invent this out of thin air.
Yeah.
Her story starts young. She's a busy high schooler, active, involved, but ended up on blood pressure medication.
Yeah, the material mentions things like heart palpitations, insomnia.
Right. And doctors just gave her meds, didn't really dig into the why, even though she was active.
And her diet back then, lots of convenience food. She even mentions trying the bacon and grapefruit diet with her
Oh,
family.
it sounds memorable.
Definitely memorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, none of it helped the symptoms. She stayed on the medication.
Then later in college, she sort of realized her health wasn't right. Even with the meds, her blood pressure was still dangerously high sometimes.
Hmm.
So that pushed her to start researching, looking for a better way, especially around nutrition.
And like a lot of us, she just ran into this wall of information, right?
Yeah.
So much conflicting stuff.
Totally. And her health issues continued. Things like bloating, constipation, digestive problems doctors couldn't really figure out.
So again, she hits the research, exploring paleo, trying gluten and dairy-free, which did give her some relief, apparently.
But a really big turning point, described to the sources, was after her son was born.
Okay.
Even though she was a fitness professional herself, following all the standard advice, low carb, eat small meals often, her health just tanked.
Yeah, the material talks about her being constantly sick, like strep throat 5 times in a few months.
And 61 straight days on antibiotics.
61 days. While postpartum, trying to run a business. That just sounds utterly draining.
Yeah, the sources say she felt exhausted, depleted, depressed even.
Like survival mode, she called it.
Exactly. While trying to help her own clients get well. So it was that deep frustration, that desperation really, that led her to dig deeper into macronutrients.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically experimenting with cycling her carbs based on her workouts.
And that's where she says, in the material, she kind of cracked the code.
Yeah, the results for her personally were transformative.
Yeah.
Energy came back, things felt balanced after years of struggle.
So she felt she had to share it, which led to launching the faster way.
Right, so the program, as it's presented here, really came out of that personal struggle and search for answers when the usual stuff just wasn't working.
It gives it that real-world grounding, I think. People can connect with that.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's get into what the faster way to fat loss actually is. The sources make a really clear point about focusing on fat loss, not just weight loss.
Yes, that distinction is important. They describe it as this comprehensive lifestyle program aimed at transformation, feeling healthier overall.
And it's not, a magic pill.
No, the material is clear on that. Not a quick fix. There's a learning curve involved.
And it's built on 6 main components or pillars that are supposed to work together. What are those?
Okay, so the 6 pillars they outline are intermittent fasting, carb cycling, macro tracking, whole food nutrition, strategic workouts, and community.
Right.
And the idea, according to the sources, is that the real power comes from how these all integrate. It's holistic, not just picking one thing.
Okay, let's unpack those then. Starting with the nutrition side, which seems foundational. First up, intermittent fasting, IF. Lots of people have heard of it.
They have, yeah. But the sources clarify, while it's trendy now, IF is actually ancient. At its core, it's just cycling between eating,
The fed state.
right, where you're digesting, insulin's higher,
Yeah.
and periods of not eating. That's the fasted state.
Where your body can burn stored energy, like fat.
Exactly. The sources frame it simply. Your body's always in one state or the other. And they mention its history, used culturally, medically for ages. They even quote Benjamin Franklin. Apparently he saw resting and fasting as the best medicine.
Puts a different spin on it.
Yeah.
The sources also go after some common diet myths, right?
They do. Like breakfast is the most important meal? They suggest, well, maybe that came more from cereal companies than solid science.
Interesting.
And the idea you need 6 small meals a day to boost metabolism. The sources say there's not much research for that, and actually it just keeps spiking your insulin.
Which they link to storing fat.
Right, so instead of worrying about when you first eat or eating all the time, IF uses these time-restricted eating windows.
Yeah.
They suggest easing in maybe 12 hours fasting, 12 eating the 12-12 split, then maybe 14-10. The core protocol, though, is 168.
16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating.
Yeah. And the goal, as presented, is extending that fasted state to allow for things like cellular repair.
So how does this fasting, according to the sources, actually help with fat loss specifically?
Well, they explain that IF encourages your body to use stored fat for fuel. So you burn fat, but you also preserve lean muscle.
Okay.
And they claim, unlike just constantly cutting calories, it doesn't tank your metabolism long-term, might even enhance it. The material suggests it works even without strict calorie counting because it improves your sensitivity to key hormones like insulin, leptin to the satiety one, and ghrelin, the hunger hormone.
And the list of potential scientific benefits they mention is pretty long.
It is. They outline quite a range, citing research in the sources, things like significant fat loss, even for people with obesity. Natural detox processes, partly helped by drinking more water while fasting. Cellular repair is a big one, DNA repair, helping the brain clear waste.
And importantly, lower insulin levels. They call insulin the fat storage hormone.
Exactly. Which ties into increased insulin sensitivity, good for things like PCOS, type 2 diabetes. They also link IF to lower risk of diabetes and Alzheimer's.
Metals?
Reduced inflammation, better hormone profiles like more human growth hormone, which helps burn fat and build muscle. Possible links to living longer and better heart health markers, weight, belly fat, LDL cholesterol.
That's quite a spectrum of benefits described there.
It really is. And for someone starting out, the sources give practical tips, like drinking lots of water, unsweetened tea.
Hydration helps detox.
Right. And apparently the brain can mix up thirst and hunger signals sometimes.
Interesting. They also say ease into it, right? Start with 12-12 maybe?
Yeah, gradually extend the fast. And crucially, you have to eat enough nutrient-dense food during your eating window.
Right. It's not about starving yourself in the window.
No, definitely not. It's about fueling properly during that time. They say eat till you're like 80% full. Satisfied, not stuffed.
The sources also mention some important caveats, like they really warn against combining IF with super low calories, especially for women.
Yes, that's a key point they make.
Evie.
Suggests it can mess with female hormones.
And if you already have thyroid or adrenal issues...
Start very slow. Maybe stick to 12-12. Focus heavily on getting enough food in that window.
Any common side effects people might notice at first?
They mention headaches, more like withdrawal, they say, not just dehydration.
Yeah.
And sometimes feeling colder, which they link to blood flow shifting a bit.
Okay, so it's a transition. Good to know.
Yeah, listen to your body is the message.
Okay. Let's move to the second nutrition pillar, whole food nutrition. Sounds straightforward enough.
It does. The sources define it simply. If it comes from the ground or has a mother, it's generally okay.
Huh, I like that.
So clean eating. Real food, minimal processing, ingredients you can pronounce, not heavily modified stuff.
And the main reason is getting those micronutrients you miss in processed food.
Exactly. Which they say helps curb cravings and just supports everything your body needs to do.
And a big recommendation here, based on the sources, is cutting back on gluten and dairy.
Right. Strategically reducing those potentially inflammatory foods.
Okay, why those two specifically? Let's start with gluten, the protein in wheat, barley, rye.
Well, the sources suggest a potential link, as they present it, between modern, maybe genetically modified grains and issues like inflammation, stomach upset, aches, breakouts, fatigue.
So the idea is to get your complex carbs more from fruits and veggies instead.
Yeah, and they point out that lots of whole foods are naturally gluten-free anyway.
Okay, and dairy. They use that analogy. Cow's milk is for baby cows.
Pretty direct, yeah. The argument in the material is basically it's designed for calves, not adult humans. And most people naturally produce less lactase, the enzyme to digest it, after childhood. Plus, they raise concerns about things like antibiotics and growth hormones, especially IGF-1, in commercial dairy. They link IGF-1 to certain cancers.
They also mentioned studies suggesting high dairy calcium might increase hip fracture risk compared to non-dairy sources.
Yes, and they point out how common lactose intolerance is globally, like 75% the sources cite.
Wow.
So many people apparently find digestive issues, bloating, just get way better when they cut back on dairy.
And they note it doesn't hurt milk supply for breastfeeding moms, might even help the baby.
That's what the material claims, yes.
So reducing gluten in dairy isn't strictly required, but it's strongly encouraged for the best results.
Exactly. It's presented as a powerful lever you can pull for health and fat loss, aligning with that progress over perfection idea.
Got it. Now, on to a pillar that feels really core to this program, macro tracking and carb cycling.
Yes, and the sources are clear. This is not about just calories in, calories out.
Or cutting out a whole macro group, like extreme low-carb diets.
Right. They specifically mention Atkins, keto, South Beach, and claim those can really deplete women's hormones.
Interesting. So they track macros, carbs, fats, protein, but it's individualized.
Yeah, based on your activity, height, weight, health history, things like that. And again, the focus is fat loss, not just weight. You might gain muscle, weight stays the same or goes up, but you're losing fat.
And carb cycling means varying your carb intake throughout the week.
Precisely. High carb days, low carb days. This is apparently what led to the author's own breakthrough with energy and hormones.
And they push back against the carbs are evil narrative?
Very much so. The sources state, God created carbs for us to consume. We need carbs for energy. They argue that restricting them too much long-term can actually mess up your metabolism, leave you tired, cause hormonal problems, exactly the stuff they aim to fix.
So focus on complex carbs from whole foods, not sugary stuff.
Exactly. Fruits, vegetables, those kinds of sources.
Okay, this is where the mechanism gets really interesting, the science, as they present it, behind how carb cycling works with IF.
Right. So on your low-carb days, especially when you're also fasted and maybe doing certain workouts, the goal is to really use up your body's stored carbs, your glycogen.
Okay.
When those stores are low and you're not taking in many carbs, your body is encouraged to switch gears and burn stored body fat for fuel instead.
So you're essentially training your body to be a better fat burner.
That's the claim. The sources call this combo of IF and low-carb days, turning your body into a fat-burning furnace once it adapts.
Okay, so what happens on the high carb days then?
On high-carb days, you eat more carbs to refill those glycogen stores. But the material suggests because you strategically emptied them. Your body prioritizes refilling the tanks, your muscles, your liver, before it starts converting excess carbs into fat.
So because you timed it right, used fat on other days, you can eat carbs without storing them as extra fat.
That's the mechanism described in the sources, yeah. You get the energy, the hormonal benefits of carbs without the downside, especially when paired with the effects of IF.
Makes sense. For those low-carb days, do they give targets?
They do. Typically under 50 grams of net carbs for women, under 100 for men, or pregnant breastfeeding women.
And net carbs are total carbs minus fiber.
Right, because fiber doesn't really affect blood sugar.
Okay. And they warn against undereating on those low-carb days.
Strongly. The material explicitly connects severe calorie restriction, even on low-carb days, to slowing metabolism and messing with hormones.
Right, referencing women who've tried those 1,200-calorie diets long-term and felt terrible.
Exactly. So eating enough of the right stuff, even within the lower carb target, is presented as absolutely crucial, especially for women's metabolic and hormonal health.
That really flips the old just eat less script.
It does. It shifts the focus to strategic fueling, not just deprivation.
Okay, let's move from nutrition to the movement and support side. Pillar 4, strategic workouts.
Right. And the sources say workouts definitely help. They accelerate results, maximize things.
But nutrition is king.
Yeah, they emphasize nutrition is foundational. You can lose fat with just the nutrition side. They mention a client who lost pounds while injured, couldn't exercise.
So you can ease into it if you're new or dealing with issues.
Exactly. And the approach is about efficiency, not hours in the gym. They talk about the law of diminishing return.
Meaning doing too much can actually hurt progress.
Right. Working out too hard too often leads to breakdown. So they contrast this with long gym sessions. FWTFL workouts are shorter, 4 or 5 days a week, 30, 45 minutes max.
Get your day back, as they say.
Yeah. And there's a huge emphasis on strength training.
Lifting heavy weights.
Absolutely. At least 2 days a week, they say it's non-negotiable for maximizing fat loss.
Why is it so key?
Well, the material explains building lean muscle is vital. Muscle burns more calories, even when you're resting. It boosts your metabolism. Plus, it's crucial for bone density, preventing osteoporosis. long, slow cardio. That's like bottom rung in this system.
So build the muscle engine first.
Pretty much. And they suggest you only really push hard on those heavy lifting days. Keep overall stress manageable. Focus on compound movements, not just random stuff for entertainment.
They also use HIIT, right? High-intensity interval training.
Yes. They call it non-negotiable if you want fat loss within their framework. But they stress you ease into it. Lots of modifications offered.
For different levels, home or gym.
Right. And this is often paired strategically with being fasted on certain days, which they claim enhances fat burning.
Okay. Pillar 5, rest. Something easily overlooked.
Hugely important, the source is stress, especially for women who often put themselves last. Rest isn't just nice to have, it's essential for healing.
Like for thyroid, adrenal issues.
Exactly. And just for daily function. The material flat out says, undervalue rest and you sabotage your fat loss.
They specifically mention adrenal fatigue in the sources.
Yeah, explaining it as when your adrenal glands get overwhelmed from chronic stress and struggle to keep up.
What are the symptoms they list?
Feeling wired but tired, sleep problems, getting sick a lot, periods being off, weird weight gain, anxiety, depression, low libido, a whole host of things.
And the fix is lifestyle.
Primarily, reducing stress, prioritizing sleep that's fundamental for recovery, according to the material. They also note postpartum women are especially vulnerable.
So practical tips for getting more rest.
Things like actually scheduling it, focusing on sleep quality, getting outside, really listening to your body, take extra rest days if you need them, asking for help, doing things you enjoy.
They also mention active recovery.
Yeah, like a gentle walk or bike ride on a rest day. It's optional, though. And again, listen to your body. If it feels draining, stop. Do something else more restorative.
Makes sense. Okay, pillar 6, community.
Right. The sources say the strategies are key, but the community is the true power. That's what helps make it a lifestyle.
They mention research showing social support helps people stick with changes.
Yes, it's a huge factor in sustainability.
What are the benefits they list?
Feeling less alone, getting motivated by others, having people to help you over hurdles, celebrating wins together, daily accountability, support from coaches and peers. It's a unifying thing.
They share some stories, too.
Yeah, one participant, Denise, talking about finding her people and motivation there that she didn't get anywhere else.
That makes total sense. Trying to change habits alone can be really tough.
For sure. And that leads right into the final pillar, mindset.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Crucial for long-term success.
Absolutely. The sources say mindset is key for happiness, too. It tackles those common struggles, feeling deprived, fearing food, negative self-talk about your body, or progress.
So the program aims to help shift that mindset.
Yeah, towards something more beneficial, healthier. They mentioned a client who felt the program saved me, gave her life back because it changed her whole perspective.
And a big part of that is progress over perfection.
Yes, that's a core concept. Shifting focus from beating yourself up over slip-ups to celebrating what you did accomplish. Focusing on the wins.
And wins aren't just about the scale.
Not at all. The sources list tons of non-physical wins to celebrate. Maybe you stop snacking, or consistently ate enough food, or hit your water goal.
Or cut back on dairy or gluten successfully.
Right. Or noticing better sleep, more energy, stable mood, less anxiety, less stress. All those count. And the community helps celebrate those wins.
So it's about adopting that proactive mindset. I'm making a change. I'm becoming the best version of me.
Exactly. Moving away from feeling defeated or thinking certain results aren't possible for you.
Okay, let's quickly cover some special considerations and troubleshooting points from the sources.
Yeah.
They emphasize customization, right?
Yes, it's meant to be adapted. The material touches on specifics for different conditions. Like diabetes, definitely talk to your doctor first.
Fertility.
They mention many clients conceive on the program, even call it the faster way to fertility.
What about gallstones or gallbladder removal?
Adjust fat intake, maybe fasting times, potentially use digestive enzymes, gastric sleeve, focus on protein, hydration, specific eating patterns like no grazing. GERD might need a longer eating window. Gluten dairy sensitivity, we covered that, but it's mentioned again. And for hypothyroid or adrenal fatigue.
Start IF slow. 12 maybe.
Yeah.
And crucially, eat enough overall food, enough macros. Underfueling makes it worse.
Definitely. The sources also really stress looking into gut health issues, leaky gut, toxic overload, SIBO.
There was that anecdote about the client realizing her bloating wasn't normal.
Yes. She dug deeper, saw a functional medicine doctor, found out she had SIBO and food allergies, things missed by traditional docs.
So advocate for yourself if something feels off.
Exactly. And maybe look into naturopathic or functional medicine if you're stuck.
And if someone hits a plateau on the program, what do the sources suggest checking?
Key things are you truly eating enough food overall? Hitting those macros? Are you maybe overdoing the exercise, too much HIIT? How's your sleep?
Hormones could be a factor too. Period, postpartum, menopause.
Yep. Or underlying gut issues, still toxic overload. Again, potentially needing help from those functional medicine type practitioners.
Got it. To make the eating part more real, the sources include recipes.
Loads of them. Shows what whole food meals look like within the macro framework day to day.
Gives you a concrete idea.
Yeah, things like quinoa chicken salad, chicken piccata, pan-seared filet, pot roast, mustard glazed salmon, arugula pesto cod, sides like Brussels sprouts, roasted carrots. Shows variety. It's real food.
Okay, so summing up this deep dive into the faster way, based on these sources, it's presented as this holistic, integrated system.
Right. Pulling together intermittent fasting, carb cycling, macros, whole foods, strategic exercise, rest, community, and mindset. Tackling lots of angles at once for fat loss and wellness.
And the claimed results, according to the material, are way more than just weight loss.
Oh yeah. They list major fat loss, huge energy boosts, less anxiety, feeling more in control around food, stable mood, fixing gut problems, balancing hormones, and more.
They mention a large client base, over 100,000, with unbelievable results.
That's what the sources claim, yes. Pretty powerful outcomes described.
It is. Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over.
Yeah, drawing on this whole emphasis on fueling, right? Managing stress, resting, community,
Right.
and the author's own journey.
What could prioritizing your health in this kind of comprehensive way, really strategically fueling your body, managing stress, getting proper rest, building community, what could that unlock for you?
Yeah, think about it. What potential, what energy, what clarity might open up if your physical foundation felt truly supported, truly optimized? It challenges you to think beyond just weight or fitness.
To see health as maybe the key to unlocking something bigger in your life.